Hey everybody, my name is Lauren Severe, and today I want to talk to you guys about quarterly goals and my New Year's writing resolutions. But before we get into all of that, I actually had a comment on my last video from Kotabro. It was nice. It was a nice comment. He said he liked my video, but what was my real name though? And so I felt like that was a little funny and I wanted to address it. I'm here with a glass of red wine in my mermaid glass. And so without further ado, my real name is Lauren Severe. Yep, that's right. That is on my driver's license. That is my legal name. It's not a pen name or a stage name. I'm not a secret underground wrestler, although I probably could be. And so yeah, that is my real name, Lauren Severe. Thank you for asking. I hope that clarifies everything. And thanks for the nice comment, Kotabro. Anyway, so fun fact about me. I actually have really bad ADHD. I have since I was a kid. I was diagnosed with it when I was like 3 or 4 years old. And they started medically managing my ADHD when I was in kindergarten, right at the end of 4, beginning of 5 years old. I stayed on medication, tried different medications, tried different dosages, things like that, getting adjusted by doctors pretty much throughout my formal education through senior year of high school, and then kind of on and off a little bit for my first few semesters of college. But honestly, the medicine for me, I felt that even though it helped me focus, it really wasn't. I'm a really sort of outgoing, creative person. Like I've said before, was in theater, and I felt that it sort of dampened my personality a lot, and it made me feel like I wasn't able to enjoy things all the way, the medicine. So while it helped with one problem, it made me feel not quite like myself. And so the way that I have had to compensate for having ADHD and trying to manage my chaotic life as well as go after some of my dreams just, on the side kind of thing, since I do work a full-time job. I have a new baby. My husband works 2 jobs. He's a first responder, so he works shift work, which essentially means he's gone for 24 hours at a time or 12 hours at a time, and I have no help when he's gone. The way that I help manage these things is I've kind of come up with a system of checks and balances for myself. I make sure that I have the ability to multitask and prioritize. I give myself clear goals and clear deadlines while making sure that they're attainable, quantifiable goals. And I find that this helps me focus when I'm not normally able to without the help of medication. That's just my experience. Other people, medication has worked for them. I'm not advising you one way or the other if you are diagnosed with ADD or ADHD or any other learning disability or anything like that. I definitely recommend that you talk to a physician if you feel like you might have one of those issues, and kind of go from there. But this is just sort of my experience and what has worked for me and what's worked in my life. So the first thing I want to talk to you about is quarterly goals. The way that writing is, it's such a subjective, creative art, and there are so many times where you can't necessarily schedule when inspiration strikes, but you can schedule work time. You can schedule certain things, so it's a little bit of a mismatch between being sort of type A kind of thing, and having a schedule, having a rhythm, making sure that you're working through the low points, and your creative side, which basically goes with the wind and, bathtub moments and moments of inspiration and all of that. And so the way that I find in my life and in my writing that I'm able to set attainable, quantifiable goals is I give myself a lot of time to get them done. That way, if I have to have a few mom days like I did during NaNoWriMo this year, it's not going to totally derail my progress, and it's not going to get in my head that I'm not doing things, fast enough, or, I'm way behind schedule, I'm not meeting my deadlines. So I give myself a lot of time, and the way that I do that is I use quarterly goals. So instead of saying, okay, every day I'm going to write, that's not realistic for me as the new mom. It really just isn't. There are some days where I come home and my baby just decides he's colicky or gassy, or, he's going through a growth spurt or whatever, and he's just going to scream all night. And I have to sit there and comfort him all night. And, when that happens, I'm just not going to have the opportunity to write that day. So saying I'm going to write every day, that's a daily goal for me, that doesn't work for me. So what I like to do is I like to break the year into 4 quarters, which is 3 months each. So my first quarter is actually the months of November, December, and January. So I'm still in the middle of my first quarter, and I did have some goals set to start a YouTube channel, to start regularly uploading, to finish my WIP during the month of November, and then be able to give myself a break between the end of November and the beginning of 2019, because I think that when I have my writing hat on, it's different than when I have my editing hat on. And I need that sort of break to be able to come back to my WIP fresh and ready to get out my red pen of doom and start going after it and just, cutting people out and, really refining the manuscript. But I feel that I always need that break in between writing and editing. That way I can look at it with a fresh pair of eyes. I haven't looked at it in a while. I can do a read through. I can really sort of see the problem spots. I'm not too close to the project. So that's part of my first quarter and quarterly goals. I think that this would work for a lot of people who have really busy, crazy lives like I do, just because like I said, it's really attainable. If you're in a wedding or something like that, there's a good 2-3 weeks sometimes that really get caught up with social events and things. If you're having a child or you have a child, they may go through growth spurts or transitions with sleep for a couple weeks at a time, to where weekly goals don't really work for you either. Well, at least it doesn't for me. Monthly goals are attainable, and I do generally have monthly goals, but I really stick by the quarterly goal method. It's worked out for me and for my family so far, and it's kept me on track. But also the goals that I set are things that are definitely attainable in that 3-month period, so that when I look back, I go, wow, I got a lot of these done, or I got most of these done. And even on the days where I felt like I was, dragging behind, or that I couldn't work on my manuscript, or, where I started to kind of have doubts or whatever, when I look back at those quarterly goals, I realize how much progress I have made, and it helps to keep me motivated to keep going. Just because we all have times in our lives, where things get busy. If you're a student, you have finals week or holidays where you're going home and you don't really have a lot of time to yourself to be able to write or to be able to edit or whatever. So a quarterly goal is really good for that. And I do encourage you to try and at least set up some sort of goals, if it's yearly, quarterly, whatever, just because it, giving yourself a goal really allows you to find a point that you can start working towards, even if it's only a little at a time, even if it's between work or whatever. Any progress you make is good progress, and that is, definitely something I like to encourage people, even if you wrote 5 words today. Those 5 words may be the best 5 words in your manuscript. You never know. Anyway, moving on to my New Year's writing resolutions. So I do have resolutions and goals that I've set up for 2019 that are personal goals, family goals, I have financial goals, things like that. I am the type of person that I like to set goals for myself, and I like to have a clear plan on how to reach them, and that just calms me down. I don't know if you can hear my baby, but he's screaming really loud right outside because it's nap time. And he has started this thing where he has just decided that he's going to be the cutest, sweetest little angel baby ever until it's time to nap, and then he turns into Rosemary's Baby. And so my poor sweet husband is wrestling with him, trying to get him down right now. So I'm sorry if you can hear a baby crying in the background. Anyway, so my New Year's writing resolutions, one of them is to attend more local literary events or a writing conference in the year 2019. I've said in my AuthorTube newbie tag video that one of the reasons I started AuthorTube is because I wanted to network and get to know other people in the industry, other authors or aspiring authors, and that's really true. I don't feel that there's a ton of people just in my inner circle, like friends and family, who have the same interests that I do. And so I think it would be really cool to maybe attend some literary events that are local, to try and find some of those, or to go to a writing conference and just kind of further my education and my personal journey, because I think that we can always learn and grow when, with our craft, and we can always like find a new way to maybe say something kind of differently or in a unique way. I don't know. I'm a big fan of, if you're going to break the rules, like learn what they are first. And so I'm always finding new rules so I can find new ways to break them. My next one is to sit down with an intellectual property lawyer to discuss options for my young adult dystopian novel. So I did mention this also in previous videos, but I actually have experience with co-authorship. I co-authored a young adult dystopian novel with a good friend of mine, and the co-authorship dissolved, and so that project kind of is in limbo right now. And I'd like to know, I guess, what my options are, if I have any options. I also think if I got to sit down with an intellectual property lawyer, that I can make a video later on about maybe a little bit about intellectual property laws and co-authorship for anyone who's just interested in that. But as of right now, like, I don't think that I have any like legal recourse or anything to be able to publish traditionally my first book. But I don't know, who knows, maybe I will be able to release it for free or, something like that, self-publish in that way. But yeah, so I'd like to sit down with an intellectual property lawyer and just get more information, because there's really not a lot out there as far as co-authorship and copyright law and things like that. Like in my area, there hardly are any intellectual property lawyers. So I think that would be really interesting in 2019, just to get information and see if I even have anything that I can do with this this project that's kind of just sitting in limbo. Yeah, so that is my second one. My third New Year's writing resolution is to get my WIP ready for submission by the end of the year. This is going to be really hard because I only just finished it in November, and my first young adult novel took me probably at least 2 years and like 6 drafts to get ready for submission. I mean, rounds of betas, more rounds of betas, all kinds of stuff. Like, it took forever to get that from the first draft to something that was polished and ready enough to actually submit traditionally. So a year is actually a really short time frame, but part of the reason that I'm telling you guys all these resolutions is so that you can like keep me honest, and even if I don't reach all of my goals, so that y'all can see me like work towards them, and for accountability, really. So wish me luck. I'm giving myself a really hard deadline with that, but that is one of my New Year's writing resolutions, is that by the end of 2019, I want to have a polished, finished, ready manuscript that I can start querying and traditionally submitting. Oh, goodness. Okay, so the next one is to have my WIP professionally edited. So with my first one, I did a lot of rounds of self-edits. I did a lot of betaing. I did a lot of refining, just as much as I could on my own. I used the Chicago Manual of Style as one of my resources to edit, and I really enjoyed, the editing process and doing a lot of it by myself. But part of that was I did not have the finances when I was going through IVF to have an editor professionally edit my manuscript. And so with this year and the 1 year that I'm giving myself to really refine this manuscript and start traditionally submitting either by the end of 2019 or the beginning of the next year in 2020, I want to actually be able to professionally edit this WIP and get it in working order. I don't really have an idea of an editor yet. Like I said, I'm just now kind of going back to it, doing the initial read through so that I can, kind of find the problem spots, the slow spots, all the big developmental edits that need to happen right now. And once it's a little bit further along, then I'm probably going to do some videos on how to choose an editor as I go through that process. I'm going to keep everything really transparent, how much I pay an editor, what feedback I get, all that. So that's going to be interesting for sure to do, but I'm excited about it because I didn't get to do it with my first one. The next one is to have an 80 to 90,000 total WIP word count. Right now mine's about 60,000 words. So we're not far off, but I know that there were like a few scenes that I skipped over when I was writing it because I just really wanted to get the bones of the story and wanted to get it down. And so I do have things that I still need to expand upon. I have a bunch of big developmental edits that are going to add word count. So my goal is between 80 and 90,000 words for the WIP, which I think is attainable for this year. Also, I want to attend a write-in, either virtually or in person. I have never done that. I'm a really social person, and so I've always kind of felt maybe a write-in would distract me and my ADHD self from actually getting any work done. But I don't know. I think it might be kind of cool to explore just doing a write-in, and maybe it'll actually help me like zone in and focus. And I'm really curious to see how that goes. So I really like to attend a write-in this year. Find a critique group or critique partner. And this is also part of, attending literary events and attending write-ins. I'd like to find a good critique group or critique partner. Again, kind of like as a betaing process or whatever, as I am praying that I can finish the goal of getting my WIP ready by the end of 2019. And the very last resolution that I have, this is a lot of resolutions. I really hope that I can achieve all of these. Otherwise, I'm going to look real silly. But the last one is to map the YA trends for 2019. This is something I think that to be successful in any avenue, like let's say your passion is quilting, you have to be a student of quilting. You have to want information and study it. And so if you want to be published, you somewhat have to be a student of publishing. And I think that there's so many trends in young adult fiction that, different author tubers have kind of touched on this. There are seasons for publishing. There are trends that come in and fade out in the market, all of that. And so just to kind of stay on top of things in the publishing world, since I am going to be submitting by the end of the year, I kind of want to see what the trends are during the year. And so I can maybe hopefully see patterns for the next year and, kind of start thinking strategically about submission in 2020 or the end of 2019. So I do want to kind of map some young adult trends. So those are my resolutions. I don't know if you've made yours. If you have, tell me if you have any similar ones down below or any advice on, me trying to tackle all of this. It would be really great if you commented or liked this video or subscribed. Of course, you don't have to, but it would be really awesome if you did. Me and my mermaid glass are going to enjoy a few quiet minutes now that my son is finally asleep, and I hope that y'all have a great night.